looking back at the world from another level, you know what I mean? Staring. Multiple gunshots to the block, the fun stops. Niggas was calling cops, people shot, nobody stopped. I wonder when the world stopped. Cameron last night, 2 kids shot while the whole block staring. I will never understand this society. But they try to murder me, then they lie to me. Product of a John Breed, all my homies try to weed. Now the little baby's crazy, raised on fantasy. Tell me when my enemies flee when they see me. Believe me.
Welcome to the UI experience. Welcome to the UI experience.
And good afternoon to everybody out there in listening land. This is yours truly, Jalal Tariq, with the latest edition of Real Talk with Jalal Tariq. Real talk for real people with real problems. For this 5th day of November 2014, the day after the Democratic slaughter in congressional elections yesterday. But before we jump into our first topic, as usual, I want to put out my request that those who think that what we are trying to do at Urban Intellectuals are doing a positive thing, trying to move our people forward, I urge you to go to urbanintellectuals.com/members, and for the low price of $24 a year, you can become a card-carrying member of Urban Intellectuals, or you can go to urbanintellectuals.com/donate, and you can give to your heart's content. That being said, topic number 1. And before I go there, though, I'm sorry. First of all, let me introduce my esteemed group of panelists today. Today on the call, I got my partners in consciousness. I got Patrick Irvine. Say hi to the people, Pat.
Hi to the people.
Hi to the people.
Pat.
I also have UI Jane. Say hi to the people.
Hello.
I got my main man, TB, go all the way back to Beckman Junior High School in GI. Say hi to people.
What's happening?
And special guest today, I have Gabrielle Herrard from the...
I didn't know you was going to call me out, but hi.
And I think I got Professor Carl on the call. Is that you, Professor Carl? But he might not be in a position to actually say anything. But be that as it may, let's jump into this first topic. I don't know how many people followed what happened yesterday, but you would have to be under a rock if you didn't hear something about it. Yesterday, the Republican Party went into that morning meeting to capture 6 seats to basically take a stranglehold on Congress and basically have solid majorities in both the House of Representatives as well as the Senate side. At last count, they were actually at 7. Look like they're going to get 8 and might have 9 when it's all over with, because Georgia goes to a runoff election type system, so they might not know until the early part of January who actually won that race. But that being said, my question to all of you is, now that the dust has settled and we now know that President Obama's last 2 years in office are going to be more lame duck than probably usual, because he's been a lame duck president probably since 2012 when he got reelected. But it's really getting ready to be rough about anything that he might try and do, be it for us or be it for anybody else, with the level of hatred and animosity that's directed toward him as President of the United States. So my question, first and foremost, is what does that mean for us? And as a secondary question, why did we not vote yesterday? P.I., I'm going to go to you this time first. Patrick Irvine.
What's up to the people? This is Patrick Irvine. Oh, I'm sorry. Personally, I think it's interesting that he started out with a quote-unquote supermajority, and he's going to end, it looks like, in a close to super minority. So I think that's extremely interesting in and of itself. Why didn't we come out to vote? Because we don't understand the political process. That's why. And that's something that's been plaguing us ever since as far back as I can remember and as far back as I've been able to research. We have never, we understood politics and we understood politicians, but I won't say we have never. Over the last 20 or 30 years, it's kind of like all that knowledge has just been sucked out of our heads. We don't understand the political process. We don't understand that the majority of your everyday life, the things that affect you on a personal level, aren't coming down from the president. They're coming down from congressmen, from senators, from governors, from mayors, from those people. And we don't really seem to grasp hold of that concept. We think if I put the man in the highest seat in the land and I've done my job, and it's like, okay, who has more control over your life at your workplace? The CEO of the company or your direct supervisor? So until we can begin to get people to understand politics and to understand the necessity of voting and these midterm elections and these quote-unquote lesser elections, we're going to keep having these exact same problems that we've been having, and we're going to put ourselves in the grave early, continuously trying to tell people, just go vote, just go vote, just go. That doesn't work. People need to understand, why do I need to go vote? Because you got people on the other side saying, don't vote, your vote doesn't matter. And they got all these numbers and all these stories and all these historical references that they've twisted up to make you honestly believe your vote doesn't matter. And then you got the people who are saying go vote. They don't have anything to back that up with. If you don't vote, you can't say nothing. Well, that's fine. They ain't going to listen anyway. So, it's not a very balanced argument. We have to stop telling people to go vote and start educating them on the political process. If you educate them on the political process, they will begin to take part in it. Now, what does that mean for Obama? Or what does that mean for us, should I say? I don't think it means a lot. I think it means that some things are going to be rolled back. They're already, they're coming for the Affordable Care Act. That that's coming. That some of the other things he has done, they're going to come for, and they're definitely going to try to do their best to erase or distort whatever positive legacy he has built. And in that, we definitely hope that he's very strong, that he, we hate to say it, but in this case, you hope that he would avail himself to the executive orders that he has the ability to administer. But as far as what does it mean for the masses of black people, we've been constantly fighting and constantly moving back regardless. So I think right now things might get a little more dire depending on how wild they're going to be. But I don't think it changes the severity of our fight, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not saying that it's not going to impact us, but I'm saying we're already buried underneath a whole bunch of shit. So it's going to be kind of difficult for the majority of us to notice any extra layers being piled on.
That is true. I'm of the same mind, because I look at it from a historical point of view. And like you said, when President Obama was elected the first time back in 2008, he came into office with a supermajority. And one of my biggest gripes about the job that he was actually doing was I always felt like he should have got his stuff off then. He should have came with the Affordable Care Act. He should have came with immigration reform. He should have came with same-sex marriage across the land. If he wanted to, he should have came with the legalization of marijuana. He just should have did everything he could possibly do when he had that supermajority. But he didn't. And we've been in a divided Congress for, the last 4 years of his 6 years that he's been in office. And it doesn't really make a difference now that Republicans are in charge, because, like you said, that's just another layer of garbage that we got to deal with anyway. because we wasn't getting anything about it. We wasn't getting anything out of the process for us at that level when we did have a majority of Democrats in the Senate. So now that they're gone, yeah, like you said, they're going to come for certain things, but the things that they're going to come for are going to be more to tarnish his legacy than to be outright racist. Now we getting ready to go at black folks. They've been going at black folks for 400 years, so nothing is going to change about that. UIJ, let me ask you a quick question.
Sure.
One of the biggest things that the political pundits, the talking heads on television are now talking about, and bloggers and writers in general, is that Democrats decided during the early part of the election cycle for this congressional election that we just had that they were going to shy away from the president. Do you think that that was a good idea, and do you think that that was a bad look for the Democratic Party as far as we are concerned, that the most, quote-unquote, important one of us as far as how the world looks at this country, y'all didn't want to have nothing to do with because y'all thought y'all could win by staying away from him? What do you think about that turn of events?
Well, obviously we saw last night that backfired, simply because there's no way that they should have strayed away from President Obama after all he's accomplished during his since 2008. The Republicans, ran in 2004 off of one word and one word only, and it was terrorism. Bush had everybody that was running for election or re-election in 2004 under the Republican Party going around hollering terrorist attack, terrorism. We haven't had a terrorist attack, and they won it. Off of that, off of the fact that he had, quote-unquote, prevented a terrorist attack for the last 3 years. The terrorists hadn't attacked us in 3 years, and that's what they ran off of, and it worked. The Dow is the highest it's been in decades, in years. The health care reform is actually working, because I know a lot of people insured now that would have never been insured. Unemployment rate is steadily rising every month. Shoot, I even got a job now. So with that being said, they should have ran on those things and ran on the fact that because they were in office helping President Obama, that's why those things got accomplished. Gas prices in Illinois, that's one of the highest states with gas prices. They're under $2 now. Again, keep us in office, and we will work with President Obama, and these are the accomplishments we've done because we worked with the president, not against him. That should have been all they had to run on. But instead, they were, for whatever reason, ashamed of him. And this is what embarrassment has gotten them. It cost them the next 2 years. And it could possibly cost them the presidential election of 2016. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I'm kind of happy it happened because this will be a lesson that America needs to learn. Now, are we smart enough to learn it? That's the question.
That is true. TB, got a question for you, bro. A lot of people say that the reasons why the Democrats did so badly in this particular election is because of two reasons. One, they had more seats that they had to defend than the Republicans did. And two, because of gerrymandering these districts, they have created pockets of safe seats that Republicans could basically, they can sit back and they can say, okay, well, I am not at risk because everybody around me in my district is reliably Republican. Answer me this. If in 2016, I want to say 34 different seats that's coming up for re-election, the other half, basically, of the Senate is coming up for re-election. 24 of those seats is going to be Republican and 10 is going to be Democrats. Do you honestly think that Democrats should flip the script on that and do basically to them in 2016 what they did to Democrats in 2014?
No. No, that's the answer.
Yeah,
You know, I'm gonna say it like this. These results have me in a place where I'm just trying to remain calm on the show. I'm trying not to, go off and be loud, but there's a lot of things that went wrong last night across the United States of America, and I'm only speaking for black people and about the black perspective. I don't care anything about how whites and Hispanics and anybody else voted. This site itself, UI, is supposedly created because black people are supposed to want to come together and find solutions to our problems. Why the white man does things to us, why he hates us, why he doesn't want us involved. Everything that the white man is doing to us, supposedly we're supposed to be creating some way to counterbalance that with this site and other things like it. So last night's results meant that, okay, now we no longer have what we had before, which was some control, a little bit of control of what was going to happen in the political process. People that are complaining, black people that are complaining, did not come out and vote. And what happened was I stayed up all last night watching the results, and then I stayed up I went to bed like 6 this morning. And I was watching CNN do their election coverage, and they started pointing out the statistics. So when they came up with this statistic and they showed it to me, I just melted. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. So they pointed out how many white people came out and voted, how many black people came out and voted. And the numbers were that 75% of white people came out and voted last night. And 12% of black people came out and voted. So I was like, are you serious? 7 out of 10 whites went and casted a vote. 1 out of 10 blacks went and casted a vote. And yet black people are always crying about what we ain't got and what the white man doing to us and what we never gonna get ahead. But you won't participate in the process that was put in place to at least try to have some impact. And then the excuse that I keep hearing all the time from people is that, well, neither one cares about us. Republicans don't care, Democrats don't care. They all the same. So I'm just not going to vote. But then that makes you a part of the problem because you won't participate. You see, so that excuse and only 1 out of 10 black people coming out and voting is why there are now a shift in the seat. And what happened was 7 seats were lost. There were originally we had 7+ seats that gave us the majority. Now we've lost 7. So they gained 7 seats. We lost 7 seats. But 88% of black people did not vote. So that 88% would have shifted the balance of those 7 seats that we lost. So when Patrick spoke about, we don't know the political process, there's validity in that. Yes, there are so many people in our community that they really don't know, okay, what is this whole thing really about? But then there are far more that they know what's going on. They know that this is a two-party system. You knew that from the time you were little. If you paid any attention in school, you had government. You started to understand that this United States of America is a two-party system. You have basically 2 choices. You're either going to side with the Republicans who want things to be conservative and stay the same, or you're going to side with the Democrats who want things to be more liberal, more fair, more balanced. And as black folks who had our necks stepped on by white folks for years said that probably is the better route to go. And people keep talking about the lesser of 2 evils. Okay, black people in and of themselves are the lesser of 2 evils because you have some black folks that don't give a shit about doing nothing for anybody but themselves. And then you have those that care, but you got to contend with those that don't. So we have our own lesser of 2 evils, even in amongst our own race. But we want to say it's the lesser of 2 evils when it comes to voting. So last night's results just meant that all that happened was white folks came out in mass numbers to say, we never liked this black dude being president in the first place. We gave him a little chance when he first was elected because we just kind of wanted to show we might be open to hearing what he got to say. But as quickly as he was elected in 2004, the Tea Party came into being. So these are people who said, I don't care anything about nothing except white folks and white folks' ways. We're going to create our own party. So when black folks keep saying we need to create our own, that's all I keep hearing, what we need to do. But yet you haven't done anything. Where's your website, Mr. Black Man, who talking about you don't want to vote? What have you done? Where's your website? Where have you created your own black version of the Tea Party? Nowhere. All you doing is trolling and talking shit. They ain't doing nothing. So as long as we don't vote, that's your only right now. That's your option. If you want to move to Australia, where they have a 3-party system, move your ass to Australia. If you want to move to Canada, where they have a 3-party system, take your ass to Canada. But there are other nations you can go to that have more than a 2-party system where you can go there and be happy. But this is what it is here, player. That's all. That's your choice. So to not participate at all and say, well, it's because neither one cares, to me, you're part of the problem. Because I'd rather you cast a vote for the Republicans and at least be a part of the process. Because every law you make, everything that's on the books, every freedom you enjoy has come as a result of a law or an ordinance that was put in place through the political process. That's why you need to be involved, and we weren't. So the answer is no. As long as we continue to have the attitude that we have, it's never going to change. And guess who voted among black folks? It was the 40 and over crowd that was that 12% that voted. So that said to me, people under 40 is like, they simply like, man, this voting thing, I don't even give a damn. I'm going to keep on smoking my weed and then living my life, and I don't care. So that's why the balance was flipped. Yeah, Barack has no chance now. He's done. He's done. He's going to have to give in to what they say and just be somewhat just lame yourself on through until they can stick another white person in office.
You know what, to touch on something that Terry and Patrick said about we don't understand checks and balances. We do understand, we have a Democratic Party, a Republican Party, all of it, but we don't understand checks and balances. I had a lot of people talking about on Facebook that why everybody going out posting about voting as if this is the presidential election. I have to tell people this is more important than a presidential election because of the system that we have that is checks and balances. So again, if we don't understand or get checks and balances, then of course we're not going to go out and vote because we don't realize we have the executive, legislative, and the courts. So again, if we don't get those basic principles of elections, of course we're never going to succeed when it come on top when it comes to the political process.
Okay, there's a lot of pundits out there that say this, that one of the problems that we have as black people as far as voting is concerned is, one, we are caught up, especially the 40, like you said, the 40 and under crowd, the crowd that didn't turn out for the polls, they're caught up in that cult of personality. The only reason why they voted in the first place in 2008 and 2012 in record numbers is because of Barack Obama. And because he had Beyonce and Lil Jon and, Justin Timberlake and all these so-called celebrities who I read an article yesterday that most of them people that was doing the Rock the Vote videos, they didn't even vote. But that's a whole other story. We'll talk about that, at another time. But we're caught up in that cult of personality because the ticket wasn't headed by the black man that we like, that we put in office, then we kind of lost interest, especially the youngsters. There's also the way of looking at it like this, too. Barack Obama was elected twice because he had a ground game. He had a novel way of approaching an election cycle that nobody had ever seen. And he turned out people in droves and record numbers. And like Patrick said, white people went to bed on November the 3rd, 2008, and woke up November the 4th, 2008, with a black president. And it was like that thing that you do while you're drunk, and the next day you get up and you say, oh, what the hell did I do? And then everything happened from there. So he lost a lot of the white voters that backed him. But like all three of you said previously, it's because we don't understand how this process works, that he's just a figurehead. He still needs help. But my problem is not so much that they didn't vote in the congressional elections. My problem is that we didn't vote for the local shit. Like I've said before on this show, and I'll say it time and time again, the President of the United States has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not that pothole gets fixed in front of your house. He has absolutely no nothing to do with whether or not your sewer line gets unclogged and quit backing up into your basement. Your local councilmen, your local, city managers, your mayors, your state representatives, your governors, they have more to do with your daily life than the President of the United States or any member of the federal government. The only thing they exist for is to control them purse strings, to make sure that a certain amount of money gets to those particular states. But we didn't even turn out and vote for them. So I'm like Terry, I was hot too. I got mine off in an article that I'm going to post at UI, because I didn't have nobody to talk to at 3 o'clock in the morning. If I'd known y'all was up, we could have just, jumped on the call or something and just raged at the machine. But why?
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
This is General. Hey, so from what I'm hearing, is it everybody's position here that the reason the results came back the way they did was black folks' fault?
No.
It's not. Nobody's saying fault.
No,
nobody's saying fault. No,
every last one of
fault.
the United States could have voted, and it still wouldn't have moved the needle. But the fact of the matter, that's why I'm stressing the lower election results for the things that do matter. I care less who wins it. A lot of those races that were lost were in spots that we don't live. You live in Texas, you can't vote for a senator in Illinois. You can't vote for a governor in Pennsylvania. You live in Texas. It's solidly Republican. Every last one of us could have voted, and it still would not have moved the needle.
Okay.
And that's what
gerrymandering means.
It's not about fault. It's just about, when somebody says that only 12% of black people came out to vote, like, okay, we can acknowledge that if 75% of white people in any capacity show up to do anything, black people simply don't have the numbers. But when only 12% actually participate, we have to look at that as, that's not even, that's not a win at all. Like, you can't even, if 60 or 70% participated, we could at least say, well, we had a moral victory. We gave it our best, blah, blah. To say only 12% showed up is like saying, you overslept, got up late, and then just said, fuck it, I ain't going to work today.
Well, I don't know how. I know numbers can be skewed to make it look any kind of way you want to. First of all, I don't know if that 12% represents the total number of black voters.
Yes, it represents the total. What happened was during the election results last night,
let me finish the question, though. Or is it the total number of registered black voters? Okay. So that makes a difference because we're only 13% of the population anyway. So if 12% showed up, that's keeping in line with the population anyway. Okay, but if you tell me 12% of black voters, which I kind of find it hard to believe, but I can speak about Peoria County and I can talk about Illinois, okay? But here we've had one of the biggest midterms show out that we've had in years, okay? So they can't say people didn't show up because they did. But I tell you, in a lot of places like Chicago, Bruce Rauner had made a pact with certain black ministers up there, and they had black people voting Republican or not showing up at all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then you had other people around the state, just wasn't happy with the choices. Okay, and they might have showed up to vote, but certain people they just didn't vote for. Okay, so they didn't take the lesser of two evils. If they found somebody that been there in office all these years and their community hadn't changed, and they still got the streets messed up, they still got crime, or still don't have any quality education in our schools, but these people have been getting voted back in for the last 20 or 30 years and ain't been no change, these people are kind of fed up now. So I know I am.
Okay, let me try and put this in perspective, right? When we say that we didn't vote, right, what we mean by that is that, for one thing, you cannot vote in America unless you are a registered voter. So that 12% is 12% of registered black voters in any given jurisdiction. Not 12% of the black voters in Ferguson, Missouri, or 12% of the black voters in Peoria, or 12% in Philadelphia, Washington, what have you, but 12% of registered voters across all different jurisdictions and all different precincts.
Right, but at the same time, you tell me 75% showed up? White folks?
That's what the
Yes.
numbers say. But the numbers is not important. The fact of the matter is this, is that, and this is what my argument is. This is my axe to grind. These very same spots, like I take Ferguson, Missouri, for example. We don't know what is going to happen today because I haven't dug down into the numbers to find out what exactly happened in election results, if any of those people were up for election yesterday. But that's how you get a 60% city of African Americans governed by all white people, because we don't go to the polls. You see what I'm saying? That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about, if people go out, we see black folks lined up around the block. You know what I mean? To the point that they had to pass laws and ordinances and go all the way to the Supreme Court to keep a certain number of us away from the polls, because they're not concerned about the president. They're not concerned about Congress. They know that will always be in their hands because there's just simply not enough of us to move the needle. What they don't want is us voting for mayor, for us voting for city council, for us voting.
I understand that, because as a person who ran for mayor before and for school board, okay, I can tell you what my plight was. I ran, but they did everything in their power to make sure I didn't get on the ballot, okay? They legally had me taken off the ballot. So you can't blame black folks for voting white folks in when black folks ain't allowed to be on the ballot.
Well, this is my stance, because I'm actually friends with a few people who ran this midterm for different congressional seats and whatnot. And they have ran into several problems with trying to even get on the ballot, and most of them ended up being write-ins. But the thing is, and I know in Florida anyways, specifically, I'm talking about Florida now, I don't know about other states, you can still get a government website set up. You can still get different things put in place so that if people want to see that you're running, they can see that you're running. My biggest beef, and this is why I always say we need to educate people about the political process, and that involves educating them about how to find out who all is running, because yes, it's a two-party system, but more often than not, there are more than two people running. You just hear about two, but there are a plethora of people running. We got to teach people not only what this political process means and why it's important to vote in these minor elections, but we also got to teach them, look, if you don't like Democrat and you don't like Republican, there's a third option out there, and in a lot of cases, the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th one as well. Go research one of them. Chances are very good that you have a better chance of having a real dialogue with them one-on-one, because they're not getting no attention. They're not a celebrity or a superstar. You have a better chance of getting some sort of meaningful dialogue. You have a better chance of getting some sort of real results. You have a better chance of really getting to know those people, and you have a better chance of them not being tainted by special interest groups. At least not then, because if they had money, they'd be on the ballot. So, that's when I start talking about educate people, that's what I'm talking about. It's more than just knowing what's going on in the political process. It's also understanding that there are more candidates than just these two you see on the commercials. Go and research them other guys. Make an informed decision about who you're going to vote for. When you feel confident about who you're going to vote for, or about people that can really impact your life, you go and vote. The young people did not show, a lot of them did not show up because, and I see it all the time, all over Facebook and phone calls, walking through the cities and high schools, they don't believe their vote counts. And they have a plethora of other young people telling them, oh, well, it don't matter anyway. The only one that counts is the president. That's the boss. I'm trying to be a boss, and my vote don't count anyway because of the Electoral College. My vote don't count any. Senator, what does senator do? A lot of them, they don't even know the difference between a governor and a mayor. They have no clue. They don't know about any of the state reps. The only thing they know is Congress and president. And they don't know what exactly Congress entails. So they know president. So they go vote president. Everything else, man, forget all that BS, man. I ain't trying to hear that. That's what we dealing with. Until we educate them, we going to keep, this is going to be every 2 years, we going to be pulling our hairs out and getting pissed off. People like General and people like my friends in Florida or my friends in D.C. or my friends in New York or wherever else are going to keep trying to run and keep not getting any attention because they not part of the club, the clique, the good old boy party, and nobody's doing research to find out that they're running. And, you know, the system continues. That's what it is. And the Jordans, I got to get my Jordans, right, Eric? Yeah.
Well, I look at this as an opportunity myself, especially here in Illinois and hopefully around the country, because, first of all, we still have a Democratic president that's in place. They don't have a supermajority in the House or the Senate. So if he vetoes anything they try to pass, like repealing the health care law or anything else that came to pass, he can veto it, and they don't have a veto-proof Congress right now. So we ain't really got to worry about nothing crazy coming from there. And the same thing here in Illinois, because we still have a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate. So Bruce Rauner can't do nothing but appoint people to different jobs and different positions and director of this and director of that. As far as getting laws passed and taking anything back from us, he ain't going to be able to do that. But I think what can happen now is the Democrats quit taking us for granted and sit down with us and say, hey, we need to get you guys involved. We've been taking you guys for granted. I even had them tell me if I didn't like it, go vote for the Republican, you know. I said, no, we ain't got to vote for the Republican. We just not vote for you, you know. But don't keep taking us for granted. Don't just show up here at election time think we supposed to vote for you after you treated us the way you've been treating us, like a freckle-faced, red-headed stepchild, and we just supposed to vote for you just because, okay? Mm-hmm. You know, you come here and you bring little white kids in our areas and you pay them all day long to go knock on doors, make calls, work in your office, and then you always come to our churches and everything and say, well, we need some volunteers. No, we need money. When you get in office, you got a certain amount of positions that you got to hire people to fill. We want black people in those positions also. You know, if you can't do that, we can't help you. We're not going to keep helping you to take advantage of us. We're not going to do that no more.
And that is true.
I think we can build on this for the next 2 years, and hopefully they'll come to their senses by then and realize they need all of us too. So if not, they'll have the same thing in 2 years, just like you said.
And I just want to interject another point too. For those who out there listening who think it is, you know, this is all about, you know, doom and gloom and, you know, well, it's over with for black people, you know, slavery coming back or something like that. No, that's not what we're saying. Because, like General Parker said, there are checks and balances that's going to exist, that's going to keep the Republican Party from just going straight nuts and going all the way out there. The president has a veto. And even more important thing, it's never got to get to the president's desk because the Democrats still have the filibuster that they can use. Where if a bill comes up, and just like Ted Cruz did, you know, if I don't like it, so I ain't voting for it. And because I don't vote for it, it can't go nowhere. One person in the Senate can stop any piece of major legislation. Just one person. And until they change those rules, then, you know, it's not going to get too much out there. It's not going to get too crazy. Plus, you also got to understand this, too. The Republicans are looking toward 2016. They want the White House. They want the three-headed snake to be able to do whatever they want to do. So they're not getting ready to do anything that's going to drive people away from the Republican Party in 2016 because they're looking at Hillary. I, for one, think she has some weaknesses. I don't think that she can win. Actually, I think she got too much political baggage, but that's just me. A lot of people love Hillary. You know what I mean? Whites, blacks, Hispanics, Republicans, and Democrats love them some Hillary and can't wait for her to decide whether or not she wants to run. You know? So the Republicans got to think about that, too. They can't make too much of a mess because if they do, then they lose the White House again for another 8 years. Now, that being said, next question. Is it too early to start now?
No.
To begin this process of getting people to the polls in 2016? Whoever jump on, it don't matter.
No.
Heck no.
Yeah, that's a consensus. Let me point something out, you guys. Listen, as opposed to saying fault, that means somebody did something wrong. So fault's not the right word to use, but let's use the word that it should be used: influence. The black vote influenced 2012's election. 93% of the black people who turned out to vote, Barack Obama received 93% of the black vote. Mitt Romney received 6% of the black vote. And Barack only won by 4% of the vote. So whose vote was the most influential? Ours. So when you come out in this election, the midterms, and only 1 out of 10 black folks vote, and 7 out of 10 white folks vote, you can see where those 8 that didn't vote, those 8.5, 9 that didn't vote, influenced the outcome because we didn't show up at the polls, which is why, again, I say it's something where we need to understand that this is what the system is, and you got to work with what you have as opposed to just relying on saying, well, you know what, I'm not going to participate at all because I don't like either party. I'd like for someone here to tell me, where does that help us with that attitude? Does anybody think that actually helps black folks? And I'm just missing something.
To be honest, I would rather people not vote than vote silly, but that's a whole nother point. Not exactly. It doesn't counter your point. I was just saying I would rather.
No. And this is the conversation we need to have. That's what I'm saying. Look, I'm like you. Why just cast the vote just for the sake of casting it? You're still a part of the problem because you're not informed. You see. For example, when Barack won in 2012, 45% of his vote helped him get in were independents. He received 45% of the independent vote. So they still participated. I don't quite really side with Democrats, and I don't quite side with Republicans, but they came out and voted. You see? So the thing is the important part is the vote does matter. That's what we're trying to get to and understand. So why me as an older person, someone over 50, the reason why I get upset is because I'm thinking about what it really took to get this vote in the first place. And that's why I'm upset about them not coming out, because you don't recognize that the freedoms you have was because somebody got shot in their damn head. Some black person got thrown in a ditch. Somebody got hung. Somebody got shotgunned to death. Medgar Evers got shotgunned in his front yard because he tried to register black folks to vote. So it's important that we recognize white people, they were killing us, murdering us, hanging us, coming up with these ridiculous rules to prevent us from even being part of this process because they recognize the importance of our vote. If these niggas vote, they gonna shift the whole balance of what we white folks trying to do. So let's do everything we can to keep them from voting, which is what General was saying. They didn't even want to be on the ballot. See, that's proof. So that's why it's important that we do get involved in the process and at least get out there and cast a sensible, logical, intellectual vote. And if anybody thinks that I'm wrong, let me know why it's not important, because I just see it as an insult to people who died and got hung and shot to death for us to even have this right to participate.
And you know what?
No, I don't think you're wrong, but what I do is expand on that a little bit, is that that's why I say that's why we need to start working now, because y'all said it earlier, education, that's the key. We start educating these people in the process of the vote and the importance of the vote and the history of the vote, then maybe it'll touch home with them. But just to come up there and you need to vote and all this stuff, these kids don't know the history. They don't know what we've been through. A lot of them, the only time they know about Martin Luther King is on January 15th when they get a holiday. They don't know what I seen when I grew up, and the stuff I had to deal with. They don't know about all that stuff, They don't know about the segregated schools, even after segregation was done with, and Jim Crow was abolished, It's still, just where I grew up, we were still segregated. There's certain parts of town you didn't go. Whites went to this school, blacks went to that school, and busing was a big mistake and all that stuff, and they don't know, see. So until we internalize it with them, they'll never know. So we got 2 years now to start working with these young kids right now so that their vote will matter and they will get out and vote. But at the same time, when you said, is there ever a time when you say I ain't voting for nobody? Well, I'll put it to you like this. When they did the redistricting this last time, what they did was put Rockford, the south side of Rockford, the south side of Peoria, and the entire city of Rock Island in the 17th Congressional District. And what they did was they didn't know they were doing it at the time, but they had 3 black powerhouses. There was a black man that was on the county board from Rock Island. There's a black man who was a 35-year alderman up in Rockford, and there was me here in Peoria. And they thought that they can get people through and do things and go around us, and we say either y'all deal with us or you'll be sorry. And they're reaping the havoc of that right now. So a lot of people they thought were going to win didn't win. A lot of people that we backed got in, and now the next time they'll know that, well, if we want to do this election process and we want to get a congressional candidate or we want somebody that's statewide and we need some help out of the 17th Congressional District, we might want to go talk to them 3 black boys up there in the 17th this time. So,
you know what? I want to expand on something else too, and I want to hit Al Treek too before we leave today, because I know he's been patiently waiting to jump into this. But I want to expand on something too. This is another reason why the UI curriculum is so important, because what Terry said is absolutely true, that kids today don't realize what had to take place in order for them to have even the opportunity to cast a ballot. But today's school system and today's popular culture, and even some of the turncoats, ones of us that's out there saying, well, hey, that was in the past, and we need to let that go, and that's not the reason why we're in the position we are today, and yada, yada, yada. Slavery wasn't that bad. Jim Crow wasn't that bad. Yeah, it was wrong, but we moved on. Post-racial, we got a black president. All the necessary excuses that they use. That's why we need that curriculum that we control. But guess what? We can't get that curriculum if we don't vote in the school board elections, so our kids could understand the value of their vote. Al Treek, what you had to say?
Yes, I like the points that everybody's making, but it's the one thing that I have a problem with. And I know what the vote was intended for and things like that, but when I look at it on the whole, it's something that I've been hearing for a long time now, and it's based on not only education, but, building as far as, our own economics, first off, in our own hoods. Because if we're not together, it's something that's funny that you're speaking about this today, because something was on my heart this morning, and I posted about, us and the vote, as far as black people. And what I said was that people always say, if you're not voting, you're a part of the problem, But the problems that we have, actually, they weren't just problems that we started ourselves. Yes, we're part of the problem, but we're part of the solution as well. And until we recognize that we are part of the solution, till we have a curriculum where people are teaching us while they're dropping off all these schools and stuff like that, these so-called elected officials who are basically kicking our youth out of school because we don't have schools that we can hold down and say, well, you can't kick us out of this school because this is ours. We depend on this system for too much. Now, we have to a degree, but the thing is, we tend to forget our history, too, that we had things. We had townships. We had businesses, more businesses of our own and things like that, and plenty of towns that popped up after slavery where we were doing well. You see Mexicans, you see Chinese, and different people like that. Do you see a whole lot of them in the political process as far as getting elected governors and all that stuff like that? But guess what? They have their little Chinatown. They have big stakes in as far as corporate things go in building. They're all right. Here in America, the ones that's scared. We're the ones suffering, and we've been here for all this time, and it's a shame that we got to keep talking about, well, this and that, about the political process, when we don't even got it right in our neighborhood, when we're not even a community. So who's going Who's going to help to raise us up from the state and the condition that we're in so that we can even have power where they'll listen to us? Because if we out here disrespecting our women and all that type of stuff that's not right, no matter what it is, it affects us. And then these people that do get elected, like right here in Alabama, we got people who we elect for the district and stuff like that. There's no black mayor here. I don't even think it's ever been a black mayor. And I know it hasn't been since I've been in this part of Alabama. And the thing is that it's just really business as usual. They get in where they could fit in, and then the people in the neighborhoods are still people. The houses are people are leaving the houses. You know, you see all these abandoned homes and different things like that. You see at least a couple on every block in a black neighborhood, things like that. Who's going to really stand up for us, whether it's your kind or another kind, when you don't even have the tools necessary to hold them accountable when they steer to the other side, because you don't have no bargaining chips to help keep them in check. So our vote is like a vote that don't mean a damn thing if we can't back them with our vote and with whatever we have to back it with. And that's a big part of our problem. How are they going to support us if we truly can't support them by showing that we're a community? We don't even act like a community. So how are we going to do it?
That's an excellent point. And I want to piggyback off that to a certain extent, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like has often been said amongst us and on our shows and in our blogs and what have you, we have always come to the conclusion that we are the only people in America that's always trying to run away from each other. Like Altaric said, you know, you got a Chinatown, you got a Germantown, you got a little Havana, you got a, you know, little Vietnam, a little Hanoi, or whatever you want to call it, where all of their people, they live together, they elect their local officials or what have you, they bring back certain perks and certain advantages to that particular community. We don't have that, because when we get a piece of money, the first thing we do is move to the burbs, you know, for the most part. We move to the burbs when we get a piece of money. If we hit the lottery, the first thing we do is buy a big old house out in the white community. You know, and there are reasons why we do that. Some of us fear crime. Some of us know it's, you know, better schools or what have you. So, you know, your reasons are your reasons. But for UI, what we try and say is that we can create those same conditions that you find in the burbs. We can create that right there in the hood. But the first thing we have to do is we got to come together. And we got to come to a consensus of what it is that we want, where it is that we want to go, and how the hell we going to get there. And until we decide to do that, we're going to forever be swimming against the tide. Anybody have anything to add to that?
To what?
That's a good way.
To what?
To what?
Is the answer to our problems with voting and our political presence, is the answer to that us coming together in our own communities and building our own? That's the question.
And
I think yes, because it's a bargain. We have to use something as a bargaining chip. They support people who support their own, basically. If we don't have anything to bargain with, we don't have any collateral, just like any other people who want to give you somewhere some type of debt is going to be required of you if you can come through, that they can use against you as far as if you do the wrong thing, then, you know, it's going to be a hard way to go. That's why we get shot down in the streets and nothing really goes on and stuff, because we don't really have a position of authentic power. You see most of this happen to us and some Latinos. But you know how much an outrage it would be and everything else if these was happening to the people who are in the dominant so-called structures, people? And you know that's not going to happen. Imagine if some black officers start gunning their people down like that. That's not happening, and we know it's not happening, because they know their communities will rally,
and put all types of money. They'll go to all types of board meetings and anything else they have to do by any means necessary to get the job done. And that's something that most of us are not willing to do.
My input is that there's always strength in numbers, whichever group you were a part of. So I think if black folks really wanted to come together like we did back in the day when we knew we had that mentality, it takes a village to raise our children. And so everybody banded together to look out for everybody's well-being. And that worked for us. We were doing very well. So that mentality would still work today. But you still have to have educated individuals involved in the process that understand the importance of being a part of this political process, because that's where the laws are created. The laws are not created in our hoods while we sitting down, drinking on a 40 and watching a football game. The laws are created in Washington, and special interest groups help to drive those votes. So we've got to come together and understand that part of the process, which goes back to what Patrick was saying, where we've got to become educated as to where we really need to know what we need to know. And that's where the black curriculum comes in. That's where black folks like General come in, and black folks like Al Tariq and like Erica. That's where you all come in, like Gabrielle, like you, Jalal. We hold the power to educate our children. And so we need to start right there and educate them as to the importance of participating in this process. Is it a jacked up process? Absolutely. You got two people to choose from, basically. But you still have to make a choice that's going to help us be able to get some laws enacted. Like if you look at what's happening right now, what I saw last night was immediately there were 2 states that voted to make smoking weed legal. And then the majority of the states are saying we are now going to repeal the right for poor people to receive adequate health care. So what are the priorities? Smoking weed is more important than health care for the poor? You see, and we don't have any say because only 1 out of 10 of us showed up to cast the vote to say, hey, I'm concerned about these choices that you now want to make. We have to be able to understand the importance of knowing this process. Somebody that's running for mayor that's black is important. Somebody that's running for city council that's black, that's important. Somebody who makes decisions as to ordinances to get permits to build daycare centers in the hood, that's important. But we have to know that these things must be taught to our children. They must be taught to our young people. It's just still ridiculous that they know how to sing a rap song at age 3, but can't even spell C-Dog Run at age 3. That says that we messing the hell up as older black folks. Our priorities is all screwed up. If we sit up there taking video cameras of Junior and Lil Shaquita twerking and singing some rap song, but you're not taking a video of grandma and granddad sitting down reading to them, explaining literacy to them. You see, we're twisted. We got to get ourselves together, man. And this is what this showed me. Again, 93% of the people that came out for Barack in 2012 are the reason he got elected. Nobody can dispute that. Conversely, only 12% of us showing up yesterday is why everything flipped from blue to red. And now we got to deal with it.
Good points. And I want to thank everybody who came in and contributed today because we're running up at the end of our show. An hour goes by quick when we're talking about something that's important. And as usual, I want to thank my partners in consciousness, Black Pat, TB, UI Jane, Al Tariq, and all those people out there that was hitting me in the chat rooms on Facebook, and I don't think I enabled the chat on our page today. No, it's open, but didn't nobody hit it there. But all those people out there that's, came to us off of UI's page that are listening that maybe didn't contribute or what have you, I want to thank everybody because these are discussions that we need to have, and we need to continue to have these. And as time goes on, as UI Radio grows and we move to maybe a different format, there will be an opportunity for more people to, express their voices and express their concerns about the things that we talk about. And with that, I want to end this show like I usually do by saying that in order for us to move ahead, we must realize that we have to come together and we have to support the things that we believe in. And as I often say, that the revolution won't be televised, but it must be funded. I express my utmost desire. Let's put it like that. I'm looking for words to express just how important this is to us, to go to urbanintellectuals.com/members and become a card-carrying member of Urban Intellectuals, because it's only groups like us that's going to be able to move that needle away from ignorance to become an educated part of the populace, because that's the only way that we are going to be able to fight this tide that seems to be washing over us. And if you don't want to become a member of the group, you can go to urbanintellectuals.com/donate and give to your heart's content. I also encourage you to join us every day for this week at 1 o'clock. I also wanted to announce a change that next week we're moving back an hour. We're going to 12 o'clock Central Time, which I think is 1 o'clock on the East Coast and like 9 in the morning in the Pacific Islands or what have you. But we're going to try and move the show back. That way we can give people more time, because we could still be talking about this. We could talk about this subject for another hour or so and still won't be done with it. So look forward to that. But for this week, for tomorrow, and for Friday, we'll be at the regular time of 1 o'clock Central Time. And with that, I bid you peace. I bid you love. I bid you consciousness. Keep your head up. Everything is going to be okay. It does not matter that we actually lost yesterday, or Democrats actually lost yesterday, because we're going to keep on striving ahead. We don't care who's in office. It could be Barack Obama. It could be Hillary Clinton. It could be Mitt Romney. We still go move our particular cause ahead. And with that, I say goodbye for today.